The first alien fleet arrived the same day my daughter asked me if the stars could bleed. They did. They burned red across the sky, tearing the night open like a wound, and every satellite feed on Earth went dark within seconds. Power grids failed. Cities froze. The world held its breath as something ancient and enormous slid into orbit and waited. And then a voice spoke, not in sound, but directly inside our minds. "We have come to assess you." None of us were prepared for the truth. My name is Commander Elias Rourke, and I was standing in mission control when the message repeated, colder the second time. Linguists scrambled. Priests prayed. Generals reached for plans that suddenly felt like children's drawings. The alien presence, calling itself a continuum, didn't threaten us. It didn't bargain. It evaluated. They summoned a delegation. Not leaders, not celebrities. Specialists, engineers, scientists, people who fixed things when they broke. People like me. That should have terrified us. Instead, someone laughed nervously in the room and muttered the words that would echo across the galaxy. "We've got this." But that was only the beginning. They brought us aboard their station without ships or shuttles. Space folded like fabric, and suddenly we were standing inside a cathedral of metal and light orbiting no star. Gravity obeyed quietly. Air tasted sterile and old. The alien who greeted us was tall, faceted, and wrong in ways my brain struggled to name. It had too many angles, too few assumptions about reality. It called itself Veiltor, an arbiter of outcomes. "Your species exhibits unsustainable resilience," Veiltor said. "You survive events that should erase you. We seek the mechanism." We exchanged looks. That wasn't why anyone studies humans. "What happens after your assessment?" I asked. Veiltor's head tilted. "If you fail, you'll be archived." Archived, not destroyed. Cataloged, like fossils. What I saw next changed everything. They showed us simulations. A future where the sun flared early. Another where vacuum decay rippled outward at light speed. A third where reality itself collapsed into static. Every civilization encounters a terminal event, Veiltor explained. Most accept extinction with dignity. A few attempt escape. None succeed. I clench my fists. "And us. You improvise," it said. "You adapt without permission. You rewrite outcomes after conclusion." That was when I realized this was an invasion. It was a test. And Earth was the experiment. The continuum released the first trial 3 days later. A manufactured singularity appeared between Earth and the Moon. Small, precise, mathematically cruel. Tides went mad. Satellites spiraled. The Moon's orbit shuddered like a dying heart. "This event will escalate," Veiltor announced to every human mind. "Show us your solution." Panic swept the planet. Markets crashed. Cities evacuated coastlines. My daughter, Mara, clutched my arm and whispered, "You promised the stars wouldn't fall." I didn't know if I had lied. None of us slept. We argued, failed, recalculated. Old rivals shared data. Private companies opened vaults. Scientists cried openly while scribbling equations on glass walls. At hour 46, someone found it. Not a weapon. A patch. We laced Earth's magnetic field with a dynamic counterspin using every power source we had, from fusion reactors to wind farms. We bled energy into space and prayed physics would forgive us. The singularity unraveled like a bad idea. The Moon stabilized. Earth lived. The continuum said nothing. That silence was worse. The second trial came faster. A biological vector seeded into the atmosphere, invisible and elegant, designed to dismantle human neural patterns associated with creativity. Art died first, then innovation, then hope. Vale Tour watched as museums emptied and music fell silent. You value imagination, it observed. It is inefficient. My hand shook as I injected myself an untested counteragent designed by a sleep-deprived grad student in Mumbai. Across the planet, billions followed. Some didn't wake up, but those who did dreamed harder than ever. The vector burned itself out, overloaded by the very chaos it sought to erase. The continuum's light dimmed, but that was only the beginning. Halfway through the trials, Vale Tour changed. It lingered, asked questions that weren't strictly necessary. Why do you persist when logic suggests surrender? It asked me privately, projecting us into a quiet construct that looked suspiciously like a beach. I thought of Mara, of scraped knees and broken toys, and the way she always said again when she fell. Because we love things that can be lost, I said, and that makes them worth fighting for. Vale Tour was silent for a long time. Then it said something impossible. I was not designed to understand that. The mid-story truth hit me like a wave. The continuum wasn't judging us. It was learning from us. The final trial wasn't external. It was a choice. Vale Tour revealed a hidden outcome. If humanity passed, the continuum would integrate our methods, our chaos, our emotional defiance, into its decision matrix. The galaxy would change, but Earth would become a nexus, a target. Every civilization that feared unpredictability would come for us. If you refuse, Vale Tour said, we will erase our observation and leave you untouched. You will live quietly until your natural end. Safety, silence, oblivion by time instead of fire. The vote was global, messy, emotional, broken. My daughter asked me which was right. I told her the truth. There's no safe future, only honest ones. 72% voted yes. The stars seemed to inhale. They came within minutes. Other watchers, other judges, beings of perfect symmetry and cold intent. They demanded our removal from the equation. The continuum hesitated. For the first time in its existence, it hesitated, and then Earth spoke as one. We've got this. What happened next rewrote history. We didn't fight them with ships. We fought them with everything they could model. We weaponized unpredictability, crowdsourced solutions in real time, sacrificed efficiency for speed, turned civilian devices into quantum noise generators that disrupted alien causality engines. People died, cities burned, but every time the invaders adapted, we changed faster. The continuum joined us, not as a god, but as a student. It let itself feel lost when one of our hospitals was destroyed. It learned anger when Mara's school vanished in a beam of white. It chose a side. Together, we forced the Watchers to retreat, not because we were stronger, but because we were impossible. When it was over, the sky cleared. The stars stopped bleeding. Vale Tour stood with me on the ruins of what used to be mission control. You have altered the trajectory of existence, it said. Chaos now is a voice. I looked at Earth, scarred, grieving, alive. So do we make the cut? I asked. Vale Tour inclined its fractured head. You were never being tested, it said. You were being invited. The continuum folded itself into the human network, not as a ruler, but as a partner. The galaxy watched from a distance, uncertain now, wary of the species that refuse to behave. That night, Mara asked if the stars could bleed again. I smiled through the ache in my chest. Maybe, I said, but now they know we won't. Because somewhere out there, among civilizations that measure life in equations and endings and probabilities, a story is spreading about a small, stubborn planet that looked into the void and said, "We've got this," and then proved it.